I don't drink. I stopped drinking when I was 27. And my relationship with alcohol now is that I would say I'm a recovering alcoholic. I would say that my problem with drink began when I left uni and came back to real life. And then I think that's when I started to realise, firstly, I'm unhappy. Secondly, my relationship with drink is wrong. I'm not I could not moderate. And then I came out of drama school, met your mum, and that last 2 years from 25 to 27 were my descent. That's when I lost it. And I was drinking out of control at that stage. I was very scared. Leaving drama school, I suddenly realised, oh my God, everyone is brilliant. I got a good agent, I got a great job, but I lost my bottle. I totally freaked. I was going out, and then I did a play at the Gate Theatre. I did 2 shows there, and in the second show, I came off stage, and after my last scene, and there was about 10 minutes before the end, and I had a miniature of vodka. Do you know what a miniature?
Yeah.
These tiny little bottles are. There was an Odd Bint in Notting Hill, which is where I'm from, and the Gate Theatre's in Notting Hill. And I would, on the way into work, I'd buy 2 small miniatures, and I came off stage and I went to the men's toilets, and I drank the 2 miniatures. And then I'd go and do my bow, and the show would finish. We'd have a drink after work. And I have a very vivid memory, a very, very vivid memory of me just unscrewing this miniature, going, and a voice in my head saying, when did you start to hide your drinking? Is it now? Have you always been hiding your drinking? Why are you doing this in a toilet? And I remember drinking this miniature in a toilet, thinking, yeah, I've got a real problem, haven't I? And the light comes through a crack from time to time in your life. You get a kind of your epiphany, you just think, oh, fuck. That's, and your mum made it clear to me that, my drinking was, I was coming, whenever I went out for a drink, I'd come back smashed. And that's a terrible, terrible, you can't have a marriage with someone like that. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. Initially, a couple of times, a friend took me, and I found it nerve-wracking. I was in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in Chelsea, a posh one, that my mate called Stars on Sunday, because there were a lot of famous people in there. There were people in that group who were like, I got up this morning, I wanted a drink, I had a walk around, I called a couple of people, I called my sponsor, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through till, this evening. I'm just going to try and get to 6 o'clock. And I'm sitting there thinking, I feel all right. What am I doing here?
So did you, sitting in that room full of people, you didn't feel like one of them?
No.
Were you one of them?
Yes. But the problem was, I was what's called a dry drunk, which was that I had just stopped drinking. I had not approached the reasons why I had drunk, or rather the reasons why my relationship with alcohol was wrong. And so long as I didn't ever approach the material, I was basically just not drinking. I'm not drinking. All the problems were still there. All my material, all the shit was still brewing. I was just not drinking anymore. Initially, I was very happy not to drink. It was a huge relief. I got control of my life back. You wouldn't be sitting here, we had kids. In the early part of your career, especially as an actor, there's a lot of young actors out there, and there's a lot of very young, talented people. And the thing that differentiates you is hard work. The thing that keeps you in the game and is being sharp, working hard, giving it your all. And at that point, drinking was robbing me of everything. So I'd stopped. My career was good. I was at it. We'd had young family. Again, you're tired, but you need to be sober. You need to be alive. You need to be able to cope. And for a long time, all seemed well. The problem was I hadn't really still addressed the issues. My father and his brother, they were in Ireland, and I would spend a lot of my holidays in Ireland. And they owned a pub. At some point, my uncle bought this pub in the middle of nowhere, out in the countryside outside of Dublin, in a place called Old Town, tiny village. It was the only pub in this village, and it was rough, really, really rough. And I worked in the pub as a kid, pulling pints, and it was violent, and it was another world. I mean, in the term time, I was privately educated, little Lord Fauntleroy, posh kid, Jacob Rees-Mogg, those pricks, yeah. And in the holidays, I was going to this rural, how are you fucking doing? And I didn't feel I fitted in at school, and I didn't feel I fitted in Ireland. And in Ireland, I was the English kid. But look, my father drank, and that generation in the 1970s, they drank and they drove. I can remember him just really drunk driving. Me, I was very aware there was a lot the world was an unpredictable place where bad shit happened, and I couldn't see what was coming next. And in terms of a childhood, it was unsettling, but it was also exciting and quite thrilling. And my father and my uncle, especially my uncle, were alpha, Irish, hard-drinking raconteurs. The reason I'm an actor is my uncle. He held court. He had charisma. I would sit like enraptured, and he would, especially, they'd have lock-ins at the pub, and a few of their mates would stay, and they'd lock the doors. And they had a fire, and they'd all sit around the fire getting drunk, and he would tell stories, and people would be laughing, crying, tears.
You're a big cops. Really funny.
The first time I saw Goodfellas, Joe Pesci's character holding court reminded me of my uncle. People would hang on his words. I would hang. All the kids would be enraptured with him.
How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me.
Get the fuck out of here, Tommy.
You motherfucker! I almost had him.
And drink was woven into this. So I was thinking, yeah, part of me understood that it was a rite of passage, that there was a sort of romanticism to it, which is why I'm very wary of this conversation, because my problems were that I sat too close to that fire. Now, my uncle, my father died at 54, my uncle died at 62, all right? Both smoked, both drank, both died of cancer. I never got drunk with him. It was just they were living their life.
You saw it.
And I copied what I saw. But also then, I think basically the turning point for me was he died when I was 18, and the circumstances were very difficult because it was just basically, the last 3 months was just me and him in a hospice. Some people came to visit. And then he died in my arms. Afterwards, for the next, it was in my year off, my school friends kind of closed ranks around me and just looked after me. That was in a pub. I was drinking because the state I was in, I didn't want to feel the pain. I was just like, this is far too much. I'd rather get drunk. It's much easier.
Who were these friends?
Kev, you know them.
Yeah.
Kev, Guy, Stel, Griff.
So you
Dan,
guys
Jim.
would go to the pub, and they would be aware of your situation, of how the dad had just died.
Yeah.
And would their reaction be, have a drink, is going to help you, Milo? Or would it be, he's going to drink. Let's be there with him to drink.
I don't know what the thing is. I think what they thought at the time was that Gary Lineker moment with Gascoigne. They were probably like,
Have a word with him.
you know, as in like, I think that everybody around me was like, you know, he's clearly. My friend James had lost his mum, and then I'd lost my dad. These were the two people in my group, me and James. No one else had lost a parent, so for everyone else it was like, oh fuck, bit early. They're traumatized. We'll look after them. And the drinking was seen as but it was pub culture, Roo. Honestly, everything revolved around pubs, you know.
You so 27 you stopped drinking. Do you remember a last drink?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. I was in Ealing Studios. I'd gone out for a poker game, and I'd gone out, I can't remember what day it was, to go out to play a poker one night with a group of university friends, and I drunk with them through the night, through the next day, and it was the following night. I was supposed to come back that night. I didn't come back that night. I didn't come back the next day. And the next night, I rang your mum. She was in Windsor. I rang Windsor, and I spoke to your grandma. And your grandma said, she's not talking to you. And she put me on the phone to your grandfather, who said, where are you? And I said, Ealing Studios. I was in Ealing Studios. And he said, okay. Where? I said, in the bar. He said, all right, stay there, I'll come and get you. And so I put the phone down. It was a cool box. And I went to the bar and I ordered my last drink. It was a treble vodka. And waited for your grandfather to pick me up. I mean, talk about the shame. I'll never forget, right? So, but I can even remember the barman. I know what he looks like. And we'd been we were about to film The Jolly Boys, which is why I've been at Ealing Studios. And I drank it in one, and I stood there, and I just, by the time then Stuart came, and then he put me in the back of his car, and I lay in the back of his car because I was in a terrible state. And you know, if you lie in the back of a car, you're looking up, and I just saw the kind of lights on a motorway going. And I remember sort of watching these lights, thinking, this is the bottom, thank God. A wave of happiness came over me. I was like, it can't get worse. It's only going to get better now. And I knew I felt a calm and a peace. I felt a real sort of a weight, like, that's it, I'm done. I've had enough. I knew I was done. And then we got to Windsor, and your grandmother was waiting at the door. And as I walked up to her, she said, you've got a problem with drink, Milo. And to his immense credit, Stuart came and got me. He never said anything. He just put me in the back of his car and drove me back to his place. He didn't say a word to me. No. I lay in the back. I was weeping slightly, kind of just thinking like, it's the end of my fucking... that weird sort of like, this is the end, rebirth moment. And then then your mum was in the front room, and I said, I'm going to stop drinking. And she went, and I said, you'll see. Now, the next day, 2 days later, we were supposed to go on honeymoon. We'd had to delay the honeymoon. And we were going, my mum, Grandma Frew, had paid for a honeymoon, and all the booze was paid for. It was one of those places where you could eat and drink as much as you want. It was full board, all inclusive, all the booze you want in the world. And I turned up and I said, no, I'm not drinking. And so I went into the kind of furnace, but I was happy not drinking. And I was watching there was one English guy, probably about 50, who'd get up, right? And it was Barbados. Most beautiful hotel, beautiful white sands, blue seas. And this English guy would come down in the morning hanging. He'd have his breakfast, and then he'd get onto one of these lounges and he'd start ordering cocktails. And I just watched him, and I thought, fuck, that's the ghost of Christmas to come. Honestly, like, that's... It was easy for me not to drink watching this guy fuck himself.
But are you still like ever tempted to have a drink?
Yeah.
What sort of occasions are those temptations? When was the last time?
When this interview started.
I tell you what it is. It's not that I want to drink. It's just that I'm living a life where I can't. That's a shame. You know, that's a shame that I can't. The thing is, Saria doesn't really drink. I mean, she does. But I can't. She goes out once every month with a friend of hers and has a nice night out, and they drink wine together. I wish I could do that. I'm jealous of her ability to moderate like that, and she's such a kind of. So it's not that I sometimes, like, I'm out with a friend in the summer, and we'll be in a pub, and they'll have a sort of golden glass of lager, and it's 6 o'clock on a summer's evening, and they're just drinking it like that, and I can almost taste it, and there's a refreshing, and I'll think, you prick.
I guess that's the taste of.
That's just a muscle memory, yeah. That's nostalgia, and also that's some kind of romanticism at work. The truth is, no, I don't miss alcohol, but I do think, it's a shame I blew it in a way.
There are a few more questions, but if I ask them, we've already spoken about what.
Yeah.
I guess my last question is, what if 20-year-old you came in here? Would you give him advice? What would you say to him? What would that conversation be like if you spoke to a 20-year-old Milo?
The thing is, I wouldn't change much in my life. I really wouldn't, because you're here. So many good. I've 53 years old. I'm happy. With my life. Again, like you, your brother. Me and Saria here with Muse, I'm very, very. If it stopped now, if everything stopped now, I know I've thought about this recently, because I'm approaching the age my father was. Next year, I'll be as old as my father was when he died, and there's a line in my head's been drawn, and I thought if I went at the same time, I've had a great life. I've had you and your brother. Honestly, you and your brother removed me from the center of my universe, and you replaced me with you. And firstly, that was a great relief, because now I had something meaningful to fight for. I didn't like fighting for myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't even like myself. Now I had a cause. That's why I work so hard. Nothing focuses the mind like feeding the mouths, you know what I mean? So in some senses, I'd be loath to, in that Back to the Future way, I'd be loath to make any changes, because you never know. But I would hug myself, and I would tell myself not to be afraid, and I would tell myself it was all going to be all right. It's a strange thing to have to admit, but I'm very much at peace with things. If anything now, I need to sort of put a rocket up myself and re-motivate myself and say, oh, come on, you've got to, don't get into a comfort zone. Don't be pleased. Go and climb some more mountains.
Thank you, Dad. Charlie, do you have any?
I'm just a bit in awe, to be honest.
Oh,
I've really enjoyed listening. I think it's been a very beautiful conversation.
Oh, well, thank you.
Nice one. Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah, happy?
But yeah, I'm happy.
Good.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Milo, just in case, give me a couple of claps just at the end, just to round
Yeah.
applause for
Good.
yourself.
Yeah. All right, I'm stopping recording.